Kelsey. This week I'm going to be talking about the Super Bowl and simultaneous substitution, a topic that I assume is going to be quite popular this week. Simultaneous substitution, that's going to be a tongue twister, is when Canadian broadcasters replace American commercials with Canadian commercials while broadcasting American content, such as the Super Bowl. This practice is allowed with the single exception of the Super Bowl, in fact. So when they play the Super Bowl, as of January 2015 is when CRTC made this ruling, when they play the Super Bowl, just the American ads will play as normal. They won't be replaced with Canadian ads. Canadians will see exactly what the Americans see. So Bell Media is the one who owns the rights to airing the Super Bowl. They bought the rights and were locked into a contract before the ruling was made. And now they're quite upset about the ruling against SibSub during the Super Bowl. They've tried to have it appealed twice, I think, not successful yet. And their reasoning for it is that the ban on SimSub is bad for the Canadian economy because Canadians won't be viewing Canadian content, Canadian-made commercials. They won't be viewing Canadian products. They'll be watching American-made commercials made for Americans with American products that likely can't even be bought in Canada. And I will pull a couple quotes directly from what I'm reading. It's kind of like a press release from Bell Media, or an article explaining what SimSub is and why it's affecting us, in their opinion. Now, according to them, with the ban of SimSub during the Super Bowl, American companies are being handed additional exposure to millions of Canadian consumers at no additional cost. Simply put, the CRTC is taking money out of the Canadian economy and putting it in the hands of American companies. And also the very last line of this article, this will have a direct impact on Bell Media's continuing ability to support Canadian jobs, generate tax revenues, and contribute to Canadian programming. So they make a fair point, and this is one side of the story, that if Canadians aren't viewing stuff made by Canadians and for Canadians, it's not doing anything for A, our economy, or B, our Canadian identity. And they're claiming since the stuff isn't made by Canadians, it's affecting Canadian jobs. But you also have to keep in mind that this is released by Bell, which means it is extremely biased. And the other side of the story is that Bell is just crying because they're not making as much money as they thought they would when they bought the rights to the Super Bowl. When they bought the rights, SimSub was a thing, and they thought that they would be selling commercial spots to Canadian companies for lucrative amounts. Canadian companies would be paying a lot for a 30-second slot in the Super Bowl. But now that they're not allowed to replace the American ones, they're not able to sell spots to Canadians, and they're losing out on a ton of cash they would have made otherwise. So that's the other side of the story. Is Bell being honest that, they're just looking out for Canadian economy and Canadian jobs, or are they just another greedy corporation? I'm gonna say they're probably just another greedy corporation, because realistically, they claim that this is gonna ruin the Canadian economy, but it's only one event, one day out of the year that Canadians are being exposed to the American content. The rest of the year, SimSub is allowed, or if they're just watching Canadian stuff, it's all gonna be Canadian content. And they're saying, this is gonna take away from Canadian jobs, but the people they're employing to make commercials for the Super Bowl, they're not just some regular unemployed Joe they found and they brought them in to make the commercial for the Super Bowl. It's people who are already employed making advertisements the rest of the year. So I don't really get that argument. So with that, in my opinion, Bell's just being greedy as usual. And that's all I have to say this week.